In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to draw stars in Illustrator. And the star tool is one of the most flexible tools in the program. It's actually a lot of fun to use. So I've gone ahead and saved my changes as compoundpaths.ai, found inside the O5 Shapes folder. And as long as I have my drawing layer expanded, I'm going to go ahead and select these two compound paths and combine them into a single group. Now, there's a variety of different ways to select these paths. I could meatball one, shift meatball the other, not too tough. However, I want to show you a special trick that allows you to select all of the objects inside of a given layer at once. Now, this is different than meatballing the layer itself, which includes the objects inside the layer by association, but really targets the layer as we saw when we changed the opacity of the shapes layer. Instead, what you do, I'll go ahead and press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac to select nothing, and you press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and click on the layer. And notice by Alt or Option clicking, you go ahead and meatball the items inside of that layer. Then I'll press Control-G or Command-G on the Mac to go ahead and group these objects, and I'll rename the group Circles. Even though they're really elliptical crescents, circles will do, and I'll click OK. All right, before I draw the star, I want to set up white as my default fill color. But when I look up here in the control panel, I sort of take a step back because I'm seeing this question mark that indicates that I have multiple fill attributes going on. And then I see that my object type is group, which means I still have a selection inside of the illustration. And if I go changing the fill color, why then I will change those selected objects. So I'll press Control-Z, Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification, press Control-Shift-A, Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect. Now I see up here in the control panel that I have no selection, so thoughtful of it to tell me, and I'm being sincere, by the way. And I can see that white is my default fill color, black is my default stroke color, and as long as I'm here, I'll change my stroke weight to 10 point like so. Now I want you to select the star tool. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll up a little so I have some room to work. The star tool always draws from the center outward, all the time. And notice by default it draws a kind of slightly bulbous 5-pointed star. You can change that to a classic 5-point star like on an American flag by pressing and holding the Shift key. That'll go ahead and constrain the star so it's upright. And then if you press and hold the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac, notice that you make those sides nice and straight so that one point is in perfect alignment with the opposite point. Now, you might find it to be a little bit of a pain in the neck to continue to press the Shift and Alt keys or Shift and Option on the Mac when you can also use the arrow key to change the number of points associated with your star. So I'm going to release Shift and Alt for the time being, Shift and Option on the Mac, and then I'm going to press the up arrow key a few times, and it seems to be very sensitive. It's adding a lot of points very quickly. I went too far, so I'll press the down arrow key. I want 8 points altogether. I think I have 9. So I'll press the down arrow key, and now I've got it. So we're looking for an 8-pointed star. So you press the up arrow key to add points, and you press the down arrow key to delete points. Be sure not to press and hold because then it goes really fast like that. Anyway, now that I've completely messed things up, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Good job, Deke. Another thing you can do as you're drawing with the tool, you can press the Control key or the Command key on the Mac to move the spikes independently of the interior points. See that? And that's a function of pressing Control or Command, as I say. And I can also, of course, press the space bar to move the star to a different location. That works for all the tools, incidentally. And then I can align my star to these guidelines if I so desire. But my center point has gotten all goofed up because I went in spacebar drag. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and release the mouse button and restart this shape. So I'll press the backspace key or the delete key on the Mac to delete the star. I know I told you never to delete shapes inside of Illustrator, but my caveat was, if they're totally wrong, just get rid of them, of course. It's only if they're good design elements that don't fit that you want to keep them around. Anyway, I want to drag from, I think, about there, and I'll drag down this vertical guideline like so until I get a shape that more or less matches the one in the template, and I might need to press the space bar and drag down just a little bit. In my case, you might need to do something else. And you can also modify the position of the star after drawing it, of course, by nudging it using the arrow keys. Anyway, this looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and release. And notice, by the way, when you're tracing a template, you want the path outline to go through the middle of the stroke. There's other ways to position the stroke, but that's your best bet. And then release the mouse button in order to draw that star. So remember, you've got Shift to constrain the angle of the star, Alt in order to make sure the opposite edges line up with each other, which mine don't, by the way, so I didn't use Alt or Option on the Mac. You've got Control or Command to make the points more or less spiky, and you've got the arrow keys to add and subtract points on that star.